Most people think of sleep as the time when your body shuts down. But in truth, your body, especially your muscles, are working through some of their most important processes while you rest. Here's the surprising reality. What you eat before bed can either accelerate muscle repair and growth or silently drive muscle loss night after night. This isn't just about athletes or bodybuilders. After the age of 30, the average adult begins to lose between 3 to 8% of their muscle mass per decade, a condition called sarcopenia. It doesn't just affect strength. It impacts metabolism, cognitive performance, blood sugar regulation, and even longevity. Muscle is not just tissue, it's a metabolic organ. And what's even more critical is that the hours while you sleep are one of the few windows where your body is primed for repair if you feed it correctly. So here's the central question. Are you giving your body the right tools, the right fuel to preserve and build muscle while you sleep? What we now know from the latest neuroscience and physiology research is that certain bedtime foods can activate powerful muscle preserving and muscle building pathways in the body, especially when consumed in the right combinations and timing. In this episode, we're diving deep into the top 4 science-backed foods to eat before bed to protect your muscles, improve recovery, and even enhance overnight fat metabolism. And I'll show you exactly why they work, how to use them, and what to avoid that might actually sabotage your muscle health while you sleep. We'll explore the amino acid that switches on nighttime muscle repair, why your pre-sleep snack can either spike or stabilize growth hormones, how blood sugar balance during sleep affects muscle protein synthesis, what your brain's neurotransmitters have to do with nighttime recovery, a protocol for combining protein and slow digesting carbs for optimal sleep and repair, and the foods to stop eating at night if you want to avoid muscle wasting. By the end, you'll not only understand how to preserve and build lean muscle while you sleep, you'll have a simple, proven protocol you can use starting tonight. But let's start with something most people get wrong about protein and recovery. After an evening workout or a long day, you might feel like your muscles are done working. But physiologically, the real repair process begins hours later when you're asleep. The challenge? Your body needs a steady stream of amino acids during sleep to rebuild muscle tissue. And if you're going to bed on an empty stomach or just a fast digesting snack, you may be missing a critical window for repair. That's where casein protein comes in. Unlike whey, which spikes amino acid levels quickly and then drops off within about 90 minutes, casein digests slowly, releasing amino acids steadily over 6 to 8 hours. This makes it ideal for fueling muscle repair while you sleep, the very hours when muscle protein synthesis, MPS, naturally peaks due to nighttime pulses of growth hormone. In a 2012 study published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, researchers gave participants either 40 g of casein or a placebo before bed following an evening resistance workout. The result? The casein group showed significantly higher muscle protein synthesis overnight without disrupting sleep quality or increasing fat gain. So, what's happening in your body? As you enter deep sleep, your pituitary gland releases growth hormone, which is critical for muscle growth, fat metabolism, and tissue repair. But growth hormone can't build muscle on its own. It needs the raw materials, amino acids. If your bloodstream, it doesn't have enough circulating amino acids during this window, your body may actually begin breaking down muscle to meet its needs. Casein prevents this by keeping amino acid levels elevated all night. A simple tool to apply is this: consume 30 to 40 grams of casein protein 30 to 60 minutes before bed, ideally after your final meal. You can get this from a high-quality casein powder or more naturally from foods like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or even slow-digesting dairy-based smoothies. You might be wondering, but won't eating before bed make me gain fat? That's a fair concern, and it depends entirely on what you're eating. Research from Maastricht University found that casein before sleep did not result in fat gain, provided total daily calories remained stable. In fact, those consuming pre-sleep casein tended to preserve more lean muscle which helps raise your resting metabolic rate over time. Another point, if you're intermittent fasting, you may be skipping late night nutrition altogether. But if your goal includes muscle retention or performance, especially after the age of 35, it's worth reconsidering. There's a difference between eating late and eating smart. So ask yourself, are you going to bed giving your muscles the raw materials they need to rebuild, or are you expecting growth on an empty tank this one shift? Choosing slow preliminator protein at night can create a more anabolic sleep state, enhance overnight recovery, and protect you from the creeping muscle loss that accelerates with age. If this insight is helpful so far, consider subscribing. We dive deep into science-backed tools like this every week, and the goal is always the same: to help you build a stronger brain and body with practical, proven strategies. Now, we're going to explore something most people overlook: how the right kinds of tryptophan-rich foods can do more than just help you sleep. They can supercharge your muscle recovery through your brain's chemistry. You've probably heard that tryptophan helps with sleep, and it's true. This amino acid is a precursor to serotonin and melatonin, both of which are crucial for falling and staying asleep. But here's what most people don't realize. When you optimize tryptophan intake and absorption in the evening, you don't just sleep better, you recover better. And that includes muscle repair, growth, and hormonal balance. Let's unpack what's happening behind the scenes. During deep sleep, particularly in slow wave sleep, the brain triggers powerful physiological repair processes. One of the most important, the release of growth hormone from the anterior pituitary. This hormone is central to muscle rebuilding, fat metabolism, and tissue regeneration. But to enter this deep anabolic state consistently, your brain needs to produce enough melatonin, which depends on serotonin, and serotonin depends on tryptophan. So the link is this: tryptophan, serotonin, melatonin, deep sleep, growth hormone, muscle repair. But there's a catch. Tryptophan competes with other amino acids like leucine and tyrosine to cross the blood-brain barrier. If your dinner was heavy on meat but low in complex carbs, tryptophan might actually lose that race, and your brain could produce less serotonin and melatonin, impairing your ability to reach deep, restorative sleep. Here's where food strategy comes in: a simple tool. Pair a tryptophan-rich food with a small portion of low glycemic complex carbs about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. The carbs trigger insulin, which selectively lowers levels of competing amino acids in your bloodstream, allowing more tryptophan to enter the brain. Good options for tryptophan-rich foods include turkey or chicken breast, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, eggs, oats, cottage cheese. Pair these with complex carbs like a small sweet potato, a handful of berries, a few spoonfuls of quinoa or cooked oats. For example, 1/2 cup of cottage cheese plus a few berries makes an ideal pre-bed snack. It delivers both slow digesting protein and tryptophan, while the small amount of carb helps optimize brain chemistry for sleep. In a 2016 study published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research, researchers found that diets high in tryptophan were associated with higher sleep efficiency and fewer nighttime awakenings. That means more time in deep muscle repairing sleep and less tossing and turning. And if you're someone who finds your mind racing at night or struggles with falling asleep after late training sessions or long days, supporting serotonin production through food can make a noticeable difference in both your sleep and next day energy. A common question here is, should I take melatonin instead? Melatonin supplements can be helpful occasionally, but they don't address the full picture. Your body needs precursors and a supportive internal environment to make its own melatonin naturally. And that's more sustainable for long-term recovery and muscle health. Tryptophan does exactly that. Now, here's a question for you. When was the last time you thought about your sleep as a recovery tool rather than just rest. Because when you combine sleep-promoting nutrition with good sleep hygiene, you're stacking multiple levers in your favor. Anabolic hormone release, reduced cortisol, better glucose control, and enhanced protein synthesis. All during the hours you're doing nothing but lying still. And if this content is helping you connect the dots between neuroscience, nutrition, and performance, I'd love for you to hit the like button and subscribe. This channel is about equipping you with the best science-backed tools to elevate your brain, body, and life. Now we're shifting gears to something a little counterintuitive: why eating certain carbohydrates before bed can actually improve your hormone profile and protect muscle, not harm it. Most people have been told, avoid carbs before bed or you'll gain fat. But here's the truth. Not all carbs are created equal, and the timing of carbohydrates has a profound effect on your hormones, especially cortisol and growth hormone, which directly influence whether your body builds or breaks down muscle tissue during the night. Let's start with cortisol. Cortisol isn't inherently bad. It's a stress hormone, and we need it, especially in the morning, to help us feel alert and focused. But chronically elevated cortisol in the evening or during sleep creates a catabolic environment, meaning your body starts to break down tissue, including muscle, to meet energy demands. Now, here's the twist. One of the most effective ways to blunt cortisol at night and help transition your body into an anabolic repair-faked state is a small portion of low glycemic complex carbohydrates before bed. Why? Because carbohydrates increase insulin, which in turn lowers circulating cortisol levels. When timed properly, this creates a physiological shift: lower cortisol plus increased growth hormone, a state that enhances overnight muscle repair and preserves lean mass. In a 2011 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, researchers found that subjects who consumed a low GI carbohydrate meal in the evening had lower nocturnal cortisol levels, and as a result experienced higher sleep efficiency and better morning glucose control. But again, this isn't about eating a big bowl of sugary cereal at 10 p.m. This is about strategically consuming complex carbohydrates that digest slowly, maintain stable blood sugar, and enhance the brain's ability to transition into deep where the majority of growth hormone release happens. Examples include a small serving of quinoa, buckwheat, or steel-cut oats, sweet potato or roasted beets, a handful of berries with high-protein yogurt, even a spoonful of chickpeas or lentils if your digestion tolerates legumes well. Here's a simple nighttime muscle-preserving protocol. About 60 to 90 minutes before bed, combine a slow-digesting protein like Greek yogurt or cottage cheese with a small serving of one of these complex carbs. This creates a hormonal cascade that works in your favor. Cortisol drops, tryptophan absorption into the brain, increases melatonin and serotonin production, improves growth hormone is released more effectively, muscle protein synthesis gets a powerful nighttime boost. You might ask, but doesn't insulin blunt growth hormone? Great question, and a common myth. While it's true that very high spikes in insulin, especially from sugar or simple carbs, can suppress growth hormone temporarily, the modest insulin rise from low GI carbs at night doesn't have this effect. In fact, it appears to enhance total nighttime GH release by helping you sleep deeper and longer, which is when the major pulses of growth hormone occur. So if you're going to bed in a fasted, cortisol-dominant state, especially after a stressful day or evening training session, your body may not recover optimally. Instead, you may wake up sore, mentally foggy, or even holding on to more belly fat because cortisol remained elevated while growth hormone was suppressed. This is a subtle shift with major effects. So ask yourself, am I helping my body wind down and enter a repair mode, or am I unknowingly leaving it in a stress state? If you've been avoiding all carbs before bed, try reintroducing a small, strategic portion of slow carbs alongside your protein. The science is clear. This combination supports better sleep, better recovery, and ultimately better body composition. Now we're going to look at a mineral most people are deficient in, one that plays a critical role in blood sugar regulation and muscle recovery, while you sleep. You'll see why magnesium is far more than just a relaxation mineral. Let's talk about something invisible but essential: blood sugar stability during sleep. Most people don't connect blood sugar levels with muscle growth, but stable glucose throughout the night is critical not just for brain function and sleep quality, but for muscle preservation, hormonal balance, and overnight recovery. And one of the most overlooked tools for supporting this system is magnesium. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, many of which are directly tied to glucose metabolism, insulin sensitivity, and electrolyte balance, all of which impact whether your body remains in a calm anabolic state overnight or slips into stress and muscle breakdown. In fact, low magnesium has been shown in numerous studies to correlate with impaired glucose tolerance, increased insulin resistance, poor sleep efficiency, and elevated nighttime cortisol, all of which can reduce muscle protein synthesis. Here's what the research shows. A 2012 study published in the journal Magnesium Research found that magnesium supplementation improved sleep quality and reduced cortisol levels in older adults with insomnia. Another study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition noted that individuals with higher magnesium intake had significantly better blood sugar control, particularly overnight. Why does this matter for your muscles? Because if your blood sugar crashes during the night, which can happen after a carb-heavier or unbalanced dinner, or if your body lacks magnesium, your adrenal system may activate, causing a stress response. That means a spike in cortisol and adrenaline, which disrupts deep sleep, halts growth hormone release, and puts your body into a catabolic state. Magnesium acts like a buffer against this. It supports stable blood sugar, reducing the risk of overnight cortisol surges, muscle relaxation, reducing cramping and tension, sleep onset and depth by supporting GABA, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. So how do you apply this? A simple nighttime magnesium strategy. Aim to consume magnesium-rich whole foods in your evening meal, and consider a small supplemental dose if your diet is low in magnesium. Food sources include pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, avocado, black beans, dark chocolate in moderation, and low sugar. If supplementing 200 to 400 mgs of magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate about 1 hour before bed can support sleep and overnight muscle recovery without GI distress, which is more common with magnesium citrate or oxide. You might be wondering, shouldn't I just rely on my diet? Ideally, yes, but modern farming has depleted many foods of their natural magnesium content, and stress, caffeine, and exercise all increase magnesium depletion. That's why many performance-focused individuals, especially those training regularly or over the age of 40, benefit from supplementation in the evening. Here's a reflection for you. Are you going to bed with your system in balance, or are you unknowingly triggering stress chemistry that interrupts repair? You can think of magnesium as your body's metabolic stabilizer, calming your nervous system, supporting glucose control, and creating the internal conditions required for your body to prioritize rebuilding, not breaking down, your muscle. And if this episode has sparked a shift in how you see nutrition, sleep, and performance, I'd love for you to hit the like button and subscribe. This channel is here to walk with you through science-backed strategies to enhance your mind and body, one step, one habit at a time. Now, we'll explore a powerful amino acid that does more than just support tissue repair. It also lowers core body temperature, enhances collagen synthesis, and improves sleep architecture, all of which play into the muscle preservation equation. Let's shift to a compound that's gaining traction in both neuroscience and performance nutrition: glycine. At first glance, glycine might not seem like a big player. It's a non-essential amino acid, meaning your body can make it. But here's the truth. Endogenous production often isn't enough, especially when it comes to optimizing muscle recovery, sleep depth, and connective tissue repair. Glycine plays a unique dual role. It supports collagen synthesis, which is essential for joint, tendon, and fascia health, structures that support your muscles. It lowers core body temperature, helping you fall asleep faster and enter deeper stages of sleep, the ones most critical for growth hormone release and protein synthesis. In a 2007 study published in Sleep and Biological Rhythms, researchers gave participants 3 grams of glycine before bed and found it significantly improved subjective sleep quality and reduced sleep latency, the time it takes to fall asleep. Brainwave monitoring also showed increased time spent in slow wave sleep, the phase when your body releases growth hormone and repairs muscle tissue. So what's the mechanism? Glycine works on several levels. It enhances NMDA receptor activity in the brain, which promotes relaxation and prepares the nervous system for sleep. It improves peripheral vasodilation, which means more blood is drawn to the surface of the body, releasing heat and allowing your core temperature to drop. That drop in temperature is a biological signal to the brain that it's time to sleep, and it supports the shift into anabolic, repair-oriented brain states. Now let's bring this back to muscle. Deep sleep, particularly in stages 3 and 4 of the non-REM cycle, is when your body initiates tissue repair, protein synthesis, and muscle remodeling. If you're not consistently accessing these stages, your body remains in a holding pattern, or worse, a slow breakdown of lean tissue over time. Glycine can help you get into those states and stay there longer. Here's how to use it. Add a glycine-rich food or supplement to your last meal about 60 minutes before bed. Natural sources of glycine include collagen peptides or bone broth, gelatin-rich foods like slow-cooked meats, tendons, or skin on poultry. Glycine powder supplements, typically 3 to 5 grams, is effective and safe. One simple protocol: mix 10 to 15 grams of collagen peptides with hot water and a pinch of sea salt before bed, optionally adding magnesium or a few berries for flavor and additional benefit. This creates a trifecta effect. Collagen supports tendons and ligaments, reducing injury risk and supporting muscle contractions. Glycine supports sleep depth and thermoregulation. The warmth of the drink itself supports parasympathetic nervous system activation, helping your body wind down. You may ask, is glycine just for older adults or those with joint issues? Not at all. Whether you're 25 or 65, supporting connective tissue is vital, especially if you're training, recovering from injury, or aiming for long-term mobility. Plus, glycine's effect on sleep makes it a smart addition to any nighttime routine focused on repair and resilience. Here's a question worth reflecting on. Are you treating your evening routine as part of your training or just the afterthought to your day? Because your body doesn't grow stronger during the workout, it grows stronger in the recovery. And glycine is one of those quiet tools that can dramatically improve that window if used wisely. Now we're going to shift gears from what to add to what to avoid. There are a few common nighttime foods and drinks that may be silently sabotaging your muscle preservation efforts, even if they seem harmless. So far, we've focused on what to add to your bedtime nutrition routine to support muscle recovery. But just as important, maybe even more so, is knowing what to avoid. Because certain common evening foods and habits don't just interfere with sleep quality, they actively block your body's ability to preserve and rebuild muscle. And if you're consuming them regularly, especially before bed, they could be accelerating muscle loss, even if the rest of your habits are dialed in. Let's start with a big one: sugar. Late night sugar, especially in the form of desserts, juices, sweetened yogurts, or healthy energy bars, can create a blood sugar spike followed by a rapid crash. This triggers a stress response, often activating cortisol and adrenaline in the middle of the night. That means lighter sleep, less growth hormone, and disrupted protein synthesis. A 2016 study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine showed that higher sugar intake is directly associated with lighter, more fragmented sleep, especially a reduction in slow wave sleep, which is the very window where your body rebuilds muscle tissue. Ask yourself, are you reaching for just a little something sweet before bed and unknowingly sacrificing hours of high-quality recovery? Now let's talk alcohol. Even small amounts of alcohol, a glass of wine, a cocktail, or even a nightcap, might make you feel sleepy initially, but alcohol reduces REM sleep, interferes with core temperature regulation, and alters melatonin production. More importantly for muscle, it increases cortisol and suppresses testosterone and growth hormone, especially when consumed within 3 hours of sleep. Research from the Endocrine Society found that even moderate alcohol intake can reduce nighttime GH release by up to 70%, dramatically blunting muscle recovery and fat metabolism during sleep. If your goal is physical performance, fat loss, or healthy aging, it's critical to shift the mindset from alcohol helps me sleep to alcohol hijacks my recovery. And finally, there's a stealthy category, inflammatory fats. Foods like fried snacks, heavily processed oils like soybean, canola, and corn oils, or packaged desserts often contain omega-6 dominant oxidized fats that increase systemic inflammation. This doesn't just raise long-term disease risk, it interferes with muscle protein synthesis and reduces insulin sensitivity, which is key for delivering nutrients to muscle during recovery. In a 2018 paper published in Nutrients, researchers linked diets high in industrial seed oils with increased markers of muscle degradation and impaired muscle repair signaling, especially when consumed late in the day. Now, here's the practical tool. Establish a cutoff zone, 2 to 3 hours before bed, where you avoid added sugars, alcohol, ultra-processed fats, and even large greasy meals that force your digestive system to work overtime. Instead, make your last meal simple, whole, and recovery focused, like a lean protein plus complex carb, plus a source of magnesium or glycine, as we've already discussed. Here's a final reflection. Are you unintentionally triggering catabolic hormones and inflammation right before your body's most important anabolic window? Optimizing bedtime nutrition isn't just about adding a few superfoods. It's about clearing the path for your body to do what it's designed to do: repair, rebuild, and regenerate. If you followed this far, you're already ahead of 95% of people when it comes to nighttime muscle optimization. Now let's bring it all together. The practical tools, the big takeaways, and one simple challenge to get you started tonight. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Your body is not passive during sleep. In fact, some of your most critical biological processes for performance, longevity, and body composition happen while you're unconscious. But these processes, like muscle protein synthesis, growth hormone release, and connective tissue repair, are highly sensitive to your nutritional environment. This isn't about hacks. It's about aligning your behaviors with what your biology is already trying to do. So here's what the science and the strategy tells us. Feed your muscles slow digesting fuel. Casein protein, especially from cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, or a quality casein supplement, provides amino acids steadily over 6 to 8 hours. This fuels overnight repair instead of forcing your body to break down muscle to meet its needs. Support your brain's chemistry with tryptophan. When combined with the right type of complex carbohydrates, tryptophan-rich foods increase serotonin and melatonin production, helping you fall asleep faster and stay in the deep anabolic sleep stages where recovery happens. Use complex carbs to your advantage. The right carbs at night can lower cortisol, stabilize blood sugar, and actually increase growth hormone release indirectly by improving sleep depth. This flips the script on the no carbs at night myth and creates a more muscle-friendly hormonal profile. Ensure mineral support with magnesium. This micronutrient stabilizes blood sugar, calms the nervous system, and supports insulin sensitivity. 3 levers that determine whether you wake up refreshed and recovered or groggy and depleted. Tap into glycine's multidimensional benefits: glycine-rich foods and supplements, lower core body temperature, enhance sleep depth, and support collagen synthesis, all of which amplify your ability to repair and rebuild overnight. Avoid the invisible saboteurs: sugar, alcohol, and inflammatory fats, especially when consumed late, interfere with the very hormones and neurological signals that drive recovery. Removing these can be just as powerful as adding in the right nutrients. The point is this: your bedtime routine is part of your training protocol. And whether your goal is to build strength, maintain mobility, or simply age well with energy and resilience, what you eat before sleep sets the tone for your entire next day and your long-term trajectory. So here's a challenge. Tonight, try one change, just one. Maybe it's a serving of Greek yogurt with a few berries. Maybe it's swapping your nightcap for warm bone broth with glycine and magnesium. Maybe it's cutting the sugar and seeing how your sleep feels tomorrow. Track how you feel in the morning, how your body recovers, how your energy holds through the day. These signals are feedback from your biology, and if you listen closely, they'll tell you exactly what's working. Remember, you don't have to optimize everything overnight. Just start by giving your body what it needs when it needs it most, and let the science do the rest. If this episode gave you clarity, tools, or even a new way to think about your nutrition and recovery, I'd be honored if you'd like this video, share it with someone who trains or struggles with sleep, and subscribe so we can continue building this evidence-based, growth-focused community together. We're here to translate the science into action, to support your brain, to protect your body, and to build a life you're truly strong enough to carry. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, sleep well, fuel wisely, and stay resilient.